All right, welcome to Rapid Fire Manufacturing. Today I have Chris Stevens with me. He's the driving force behind manufacturing media, where he brings fresh insights, relatable success stories to the manufacturing industry. He's known for his practical advice and engaging storytelling. Chris helps companies simplify complex challenges and embrace change, all while inspiring others to rethink what's possible. Chris, thanks for joining today.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you very much. And I've followed your content, and it's an honor to be here today. And really looking forward to this chat with you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So, first question: what's our purpose on Earth? No, I'm kidding. So
Ooh,
what's your
starting out
story?
deep.
Yeah. What's the story behind Home of Manufacturing?
Yeah, great question. So when I think about back to when I first started out in my career, a lot of the stuff came down to where can I find information? Where do I find resources, and how do I take that information and apply it in my everyday practice of manufacturing, engineering, business? And that's always stuck around with me for a really long time. Mostly the last few years, I've been asking the same question over and over. Hey, does anyone have a list of all the trade shows? And that curiosity, I kept seeing it. And finally, much like my sign behind me, execution. And I just said, all right, I got to do it myself. So about 3 months ago, I kind of ripped off the Band-Aid and made the choice of digging into it. When I started digging into all the different events, I started realizing that there was a ton of voices and different people that were talking about manufacturing that I had no idea even existed. With that, I kind of broke it into two sections, the events of manufacturing and voices of manufacturing. And the list just started kind of building a little bit each week, a little bit each month. And when I started sharing it with a few folks, they're like, you really need to publish this. You really need to share it. So like anyone does, I went online, started a web page that I had no idea how to build, struggled through it, learned a little HTML code, and eventually launched it. So I will say it's bootstrapped. It is very much a beta version, but as we launched it, we continue to get more and more people talking about, hey, have you heard of this one? Have you gone to this show? Do you know that this one exists? And what started out, I think we had 15 on the original Voices of Manufacturing list. I'm now up to almost 40. So it's kind of just grown. And
That's
my
awesome.
whole mindset is let it be a community driven aspect, that it's built and helped by the community for the community. And for me, it was just a lot of fun. And now I get to have fun conversations with you and others to talk about, what does the future look like? How do we share this knowledge in a concise, easy to find manner that I think is kind of scattered and fragmented throughout the industry. And I will say, I have learned more about CNC machining and manufacturing and different things happening around the world than, I've probably learned the last 10 years of my career, all just by following and listening to a lot of different people. So selfishly, it's been a huge learning for myself along the process too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we actually kind of talked about this on the phone, but in manufacturing, sometimes it's siloed, right? You have machining,
Absolutely.
forging, casting, heat treating, all that stuff. And like the goal is to bring everyone together because we're all in this together. All the operations are relative, right? So that's really a huge passion of mine as well. So seeing a website that kind of does all that is awesome.
I totally agree. And I think to your point is it's fragmented, and there are so many things that I've learned about business and I'll say culture development, talent development from industries outside of what I do today. And that has been both eye-opening and refreshing. So to your point, let's just bring it all together and learn together.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, how do you feel about the next, 5, 6, maybe a decade from now in manufacturing? Are there some predictions that you have?
Yeah, so I wrote a post a couple weeks ago about my predictions for manufacturing 2030. And I kind of broke it down into a couple of things, and I'll kind of give you the reading of the tea leaves, how I see it. There's a lot of work and conversation around AI and automation in general. I
Mhm.
don't think that that's going to be as disruptive as everyone is leading it to believe. Is it will be important? Absolutely. Or I see it being more disruptive is those are the folks that leverage it, use it, but also upskill their talent. And I know like Jake Hall and a bunch of others have talked about it and for years of, robotics aren't going to take away people's jobs. They're just going to move them or shift them into a different place. So I think in at least the next 5 years, the biggest thing is going to be upskilling. How are, CEOs, shop floor managers, down to the shop floor individuals, how are they upskilling themselves to be more adaptable to the future? And the one example I tend to use is I think back to when NASA had a room, and I think I've seen many photos of this recently, a room full of drafters, a couple hundred men and women drafting and drawing out spaceships. Today, it's all done by computers. Those people just didn't evaporate into thin air. They upskilled, they shifted their skills into leveraging computers and doing design differently.
Mm-hmm.
So when I think of it like in a very simplistic way, AI, machine learning, automation is only going to help us achieve more. What's going to be a challenge is how do we leverage all that information and all that technology to help us solve problems? AI is not quite there, or I'll say anything of that nature that's going to say, look at the world. What's wrong with it? Fix it. I just don't see that happening in the next 10 years, at least in a concise manner. So we're still going to need a lot of problem solvers and people that can apply the skills. And I know I was reading an article last week that said, the bearing on a spindle motor or bearing on a injection molding machine or a die machine, those aren't going to change themselves. And you're still going to need that skilled labor. So my prediction in short, I think we're going to see a huge shift from white collar to blue collar. And the blue collar roles and the skills are going to become much more in desired, and a very, very successful career can be made from that. And I know a lot of guys and gals that are doing amazing things in the trades, and it's always excited to see what they're doing and how they're able to scale themselves far beyond what I thought an individual could do. And they're doing computer programming, they're doing machine learning and using AI to check on machines. It truly is a fascinating time to be in manufacturing, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was just with a customer who started off with, programming robots and now just fixing CNC machines and any hydraulic component. It's just fascinating because that's not a simple task. That is years of training and understanding all the components, how the systems work. So it's my hat's off to anyone in that, in those sorts of roles, right?
Absolutely. And I always go back to the tried and true example you say. They'll talk about, hey, we hired a really inexpensive mechanic and he banged around the ship engine for hours. Then you hire a really expensive mechanic and he comes in, taps on one area and says, this is your problem. And he's done in an hour. And everyone goes, oh, well, we paid you a lot of money for an hour. I was like, well, you paid a lot of money for the experience and the knowledge. And I think that is going to still continue to be very true. It's how do we take those individuals and scale them to the point of, like everyone's going to say, I want 10 of those guys or gals, and I want more of them. How do we get that knowledge shared across the industry more broadly?
Oh, absolutely. And I think this is a great resource for that too. I think the more we can get people to understand, just how many different opportunities are in manufacturing, that's going to just open up, we can have people coming out of high school or college that are like, I didn't even know that was a trade. Like the more we get people talking about it, the more we can get people kind of seeking manufacturing. And that's really what we want.
Absolutely. And I know Arthur, and I'm drawing a blank on who he was interviewing, but it was, I think the stat was 5 out of 500 or 5 out of 100. I don't remember what it was. It was a low number. It kind of shocked me, but that were in the trade school that knew what a machinist actually did. And I was like, it kind of set me back a little bit to say, okay, where's the problem? Like, how do we get the trades? How do we get machinists? How do we get the folks that make the robots run? How do we make that exciting again in school? How do we bring that knowledge in there and say, hey, robotics is fun. Like, you can do some really, really cool things with them. And I mean, that's going to be the future of manufacturing, is the integration and partnership between robotics and humans.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think part of that too is getting them into the facilities, because I go in facilities all the time and I'm like a kid in a candy shop. It's amazing. Like, I wish I would have been exposed to that when I was much younger, because it might have, changed things, right?
Oh, absolutely. I'm probably the worst when I go into facilities, and all of a sudden I'll be walking right hand turn, I go, and everyone's like, where's Chris? What happened to him? And I'm like over staring inside a machine like, oh, that's really cool. Do you see what this thing is doing? And everyone's like, yeah, it's a molding machine or it's a CNC machine. I'm like, but yeah, it's making parts. How cool is this?
Yeah.
Yeah, so kid in a candy store, I think it's an understatement for both of us. I think we're just geeking out hardcore of like, this is some really, really cool things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like you said, it'd be nice to bring some of that excitement or open up the doors for the younger generation to come see what is actually manufacturing. What are the cool things happening?
Yes, absolutely. I guess what are your thoughts? Have you heard of the reverse job fairs?
No, I haven't. Tell me more.
So Jason Roth introduced it. Actually, it was on Arthur Field's podcast,
Okay.
and he talked about how they'll kind of reverse the roles, where they'll actually talk to the students and kind of get their more information about what they're interested in.
Okay.
So instead of them going around to all the tables, it's actually the owners or the people working at the manufacturers are kind of walking around and
Yeah.
interviewing them.
I'm going to have to check that out. That sounds very interesting and insightful. And I believe a lot of schools and areas would benefit hugely from that. And even the CEOs, just to learn what are kids excited about today? How do we meet them where they're at so they can bring new technology advancements, ideas to manufacturing? There's a lot of technology I've seen out there that's been around for a very long time. Likely could use a little bit of refreshing, we'll say.
Yeah, I definitely can. Yeah, check that out. I probably explained that poorly, but I'm sure if you watch that out, you'll get a good understanding of it.
Yeah.
So, Chris, I do see we are out of time here. Thank you for all that you're doing in the industry. For those of you watching, check out the Home of Manufacturing. It's going to be one of the best resources you can have. So find your local trade shows, all the voices in manufacturing as well. So, Chris, thank you so much.
Likewise, it's been an absolute pleasure, and thanks for having me on, David.
Yep, no problem. Take care.
Thanks.